Economic and political reform in the chaotic 21st century. Let's briefly look at some players and antagonists on the world stage. The European Union. The EU is economically dysfunctional because the euro acts as a method of wealth transfer, transferring wealth from the hardworking and prosperous northern and western states to the eastern and southern states that exercise less fiscal discipline. Now, this is an oversimplification, but is nonetheless accurate. The economic and political union will become increasingly unstable, and the EU will behave like plate tectonics and break apart and come back together again in the near and mid-term. In the abstract, the EU integration, further integration, is a good idea. However, in practice, the policies on, for instance, the euro or immigration have been disastrous in practice. Nationalism is the force that has animated human history for at least the last 500 years, and it will continue to do so for the foreseeable future. The U.S. should enter into further trade agreements with the EU and try to help stabilize them and encourage them. But this is something they're going to have to go through on their own. It is largely a crisis of their own making, a self-inflicted wound. China. China is ruled by the Chinese Communist Party, CCP, which is inefficient and inherently corrupt on a scale never before seen in human history. Massive government debt is being incurred in the search for continued growth. China spends more money on monitoring, following, and disrupting the lives of internal dissidents than it does on external defense. In the 15th century, China built a massive ocean-going fleet and seemed poised for world domination. The emperor realized that the new merchant class and these external ideas and influences were disruptive of his absolute power. He ordered the fleet burned, and the emergent empire turned inward. Today, their leaders are repeating history by suppressing academics, intellectuals, foreign ideas, ethnic and religious minorities. In short, they are trying to have their cake, capitalist wealth creation, and eat it too, suppression of intellectual freedom. Their internal economic uncertainty will lead the insecure CCP to more and more bellicose words and deeds in search of external enemies to hide internal weaknesses. What is more likely to happen than their regional world domination is following in the path of a militaristic Japan. Unwise land grabs, followed by a lost decade of economic malaise from debt and the failure to implement the necessary structural reforms. Containment, both military and economic, is the least dangerous strategy. Production, industrial production, should be moved out of southern China and placed strategically in neighboring countries under threat by China, such as Vietnam, Burma, Thailand, as well as back into the United States. U.S. markets should support these small, vulnerable states economically.